Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy show. My name is Hassani.
Hey, I'm Danielle.
And we're here for another great episode. Listen, guys, Happy New Year for those of you who are just tuning in. We're excited because in 2005, we're coming at you and coming with you every single morning for some great dialogue and some great conversation. We just started a great episode, or series, I should say, on yesterday, talking about understanding who we are as a couple.
How we identify as a couple. I think it's important, the conversation, because there's a lot of identity conversation going on. We spent a lot of time trying to help people figure out how they identify, accommodating it in the school systems, people saying we should not judge, et cetera, et cetera. But in the midst of this non-judgmental, have an open heart mindset, a lot of the identities that have been traditional that we've always known have kind of been swept under the rug and shunned in a way. It's almost like there's an opposing view, right? It's no longer okay for the traditional view to be represented powerfully, boldly, without any apologies. It seems as if the traditional view has become a threat. And so we begin to talk about this and really discuss, well, how do we identify as married couples, right? What does that look like? Because the identity confusion is spreading in all facets of society. It's not just, I don't know what a woman is anymore, or I don't know what a man is, or, can I identify as an inanimate object, or can I identify as a different species? It's not just that, but it's also, one man married to one woman in a committed courtship is now no longer necessarily a marriage. And so if there are choices, and if we get to decide how we identify, I think that it's very important for kingdom-minded marriage people to be able to be crystal clear on their identity.
Absolutely. And once you have that clear understanding that you do represent kingdom marriage because God established a husband and a wife coming together as one as the first institution ever recorded on this earth, that says something. But once you know that, fine, you're married. But there's so many people who are married who are so disconnected. They're not on the same page. There's no alignment. They live separate lives. And so we want to talk to you about building your couple identity, having a clear understanding of what that looks like. Because in this world, when two come, even the scripture talks about it, when two come together, there's a power and there's a force, right? It talks about the three-strand cord. When two are connected to God, now it's three strands, and there's literally nothing that you can't do. So when there's alignment here and you bring God into the mix, it is powerful. So we need to talk about this, Danielle, because you and I know a tremendous number of couples who do life very separately, though they're together. So there's no togetherness, though they're together.
I think that is kind of the mode of operation for most people who have not learned any other kind of way. It's not like when you get married, they give you a ring, and a book and a manual, right? You're figuring this out on your own. Most of us are bringing in our own mental constructs from how we saw things done, and 9 times out of 10, you saw it done wrong, or you didn't see it done at all. So you're just trying to figure it out. And so, it's really painful to watch people struggling and really not understanding why this isn't working, right? Like, of course we want to maintain identity, but there's our personal identity, but there's a way to maintain your identity. I talk about this all the time when it comes to my suitable helpers as wives, right? We are here to help, but that doesn't mean that I need to lose myself, my identity, my skills, and my giftings in order to do that. So I'm excited about talking about how do we actually become a couple that shares an identity.
So since you talked about that, there's this powerful, powerful image that really breaks down the 3 types of couples that exist. And I think once people see this, they'll really get an indication of what we're talking about. So if you look at this image to the top left, there's a big circle with the word me and a small U in the middle. This represents the couple that gets, it's just like we get married, right? I'm the man, you're the woman, but you lose your sense of self. You lose your voice, you lose your individuality, you lose your likes, your interests, your passions, because it becomes all about me.
Oh my gosh, I hear a lot of women talk about this.
Tell me
by the
more
way,
about that.
I hear a lot of women talk about it because in the role of being a wife, that part of your life actually takes place where you miss moments or you lose pieces of you in certain seasons, like when you become a mother, right? There's a certain part of you that you lose. You lose yourself. You become consumed by that baby, right? So everything that you were and you did, that thing goes away. And in the same way, when it comes to our marriages, oftentimes a wife will step into a marriage and begin to take on all these roles and responsibilities, helping, managing the house, taking care of the children, helping the husband that she has lost her own identity. And so later on in life, you know, they talk about having like the midlife crisis. Oftentimes, I mean, both have it, men and women have it, but oftentimes a woman is having a midlife crisis trying to put the pieces back together again. She's lost herself. She can't find herself anymore.
You know, that's a very powerful point, because as we counsel couples, we typically hear that, like, once you get past the affair-related issues and deal with the regular everyday marital issues, that is a big concern.
Yeah.
But also, I've heard many husbands actually make the same point, because think about it. If you've been single and alone for the majority of your life and now you come together, you're merging things. Maybe there's some hobbies, there's some recreations, there's some things that you used to do that you feel like you can't do anymore.
Yeah.
You lose. And so a lot of times when people unfortunately betray their spouse, what they're trying to do is escape this marriage life and go back to the life that they previously have, or the life that they're longing for, because they've lost something inside themselves.
You're so right. And there's so many things, what you're saying, like golf, for example. Okay?
Perfect example.
Listen to me. If you are somebody who's involved in golf, this is a serious conversation to be had before you get married about the amount of time invested in golfing. And I think whatever the hobby is, what happens is that we fake a fraud when we're dating. We put other things aside. We pretend that we could do without. We over-involve ourselves in the spouse. We abandon friends and family and everything that we used to do for the sake of this relationship you're so passionate about. But then, after things become routine, you start to be like, hold up, I used to love golfing, where you spend 12 hours a day, every day, right? This is problematic because now you're married. So there is a way to maintain your identity and have all of those things without compromising your relationship.
And I think
yourself.
And that's true, Danielle. And I think one of the problems is couples struggle to find the balance. And I know too many men who say, fine, I guess I'm just not going to do it anymore. And first of all, that wasn't the request or the demand made by your spouse that you couldn't do it anymore. But you take such an extreme approach that you just give it up completely because you just want to satisfy the wife, and it's whatever she wants is what I'll do.
Oh my God, things are just coming to my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things. Men like playing video games. Women do too, but men like playing video games, right? You spend 6 hours playing video games before you met her, but she took all your attention away. Now you got something to do. When things become monotonous, we're always going to want to gravitate to the things that feel natural and comfortable to us.
And the reality is, it's not about giving it up. It's about finding a healthy balance, because in a relationship, 6 hours is problematic.
I think maybe you do need to give up 6 hours playing video games.
That's what I'm saying. Giving up the amount of time, not the activity in itself. But that's the problem that people find themselves in, and then they wind up in crisis where they can't take it anymore. So that first image that we saw on the left-hand side, where one loses themselves and the other, is problematic. But then to the top right, Danielle, you see you and me. The circles are pretty much the same size. There's a interconnectedness, if you will. But this is also a problem, because this represents the fact that you've maintained your individuality, your self-expression, your stamp of who you are, and I've maintained mine as well, and I'm not willing to compromise myself for you or you for me. So we're two individuals who are in this thing called marriage. No merge, no synergy, no clear cohesiveness. We're just two people doing life.
Yeah, I've seen this actually look like it's working, right? Where a couple is living this way and it's not necessarily in conflict. And of course, I've seen it the other way, where it's tremendous amount of conflict. But what I've noticed in those relationships that say this works for us, right? Where they're literally I have my life, he has his life, he has his friends, I have my friends. You know what I'm saying? We have our own hobbies, we go to our own individual churches. What I have seen with that kind of a lifestyle is there are a tremendous amount of blind spots. And that's a big problem, because that retards intimacy, right? So you'll talk to a wife and she'll be like, yeah, I mean, he does his thing. I mean, he goes to his church. I don't know those people. I don't know his friends. I don't know what he's doing. Or, he has his bank account. I have mine. We pay the bills that we split, but I don't know how much he's saving. How are you building legacy if you don't know? If something were to happen and there were a crisis and God forbid something were to happen to one of you, how are you going to manage your lifestyle if you don't know? And so there's a lack of oneness and a lack of cohesiveness in those kinds of relationships, even when they think it's working because they're not in conflict. There's nothing good about having blinders on and not having full transparency in your marriage.
I think that's a powerful point. I just learned this concept or this phrase, if you will. It's called a strong sense of self. No, let me rephrase. It's a strong sense of us with a future. Okay, a strong sense of us with a future. So when you're living life the way you just described, there is no us and there's no potential future where we're in alignment. And it makes me think about the fact if we're, as a couple, supposed to be going down a straight line to get to a final destination, but we're not connected and we deviate just an inch. Over the course of time, we wind up in completely different areas. There's no connection whatsoever. And I think you're right. What may seem like it works now, over the course of time, will create major issues.
Oh, yes.
And it's just, even on the financial tip, Danielle, you said that a lot of times people live their finances separately. And we know couples who have their own separate incomes, their own separate bank accounts, their own separate expenses, and they do far less making more than the couple who makes far less, but they're aligned and they're able to accomplish more. They're buying properties, they're traveling the world, they're spending life in such an amazing way financially because there's a oneness there.
Absolutely.
All right, so we talked about the two types of relationships that really don't work, but let's look at this third one, right? The third one at the bottom, it represents us, a sense of we-ness. This is where you have two individuals who maintain their individuality, but there's a unified collective understanding of who we are as a couple. They have formed a couple's identity.
I love it. And we have a couple's identity. And that means that we come to the table on everything. Everything is negotiated. Everything is discussable. There's no blind spots. There's no, this is you and that's me. I ain't got to talk to you about that. Why wouldn't you want to talk to me about that, right? It's full disclosure, full transparency. And that doesn't mean, I think what happens is people want to maintain their independence, number one, because it was like bred into them. I mean, we know this a lot of times. Our parents would say to us, have your own, don't always have that little stash on the side, or have your own kind of a thing, because if God forbid if something were to happen. This is not a control conversation. This is not to say that you can't be building a stash. This is not to say that you can't have your own bank account. It is to say that it is fully disclosed. There should be no secrets among a union that is operating in oneness. And I had a show recently. We did a show with our financial experts, and it was with Chelsea Martin, and she was basically talking about she was in a very toxic relationship, and actually she had to stash money because the person that she was with at the time, this is years ago, was stealing, and that meant that she was in a tumultuous situation. She had to protect her child, and so that is what it represents. The only reason why you should be hiding, stealing, creeping, and keeping things to yourself in your relationship is if you are in an unhealthy, toxic, and tumultuous relationship. If you are not, then you should really consider coming to the table with your two oneness selves and becoming that superpower that you could be when you change your identity from me, myself, and I to us and we. And that's the thing. Another thing that we talk about is the identities that Hassani and I bring into our marriage. There are gifts, there are talents, there are skills that we both can bring to the unity of us that empower us and make us stronger. And this is where you have the superpower, the super couple or power couples that we hear about all the time.
Absolutely. It's the concept of we-ness. Now, you've heard us use this scripture before, and I'm going to keep on using it till the cows come home, because repetition is the mother of all learning. We know in the book of Genesis, which is really the book of first mention, whatever is established there becomes a principle that we can live our lives by. And there we know in the scripture in Genesis, it says that a man shall leave his father and mother and cling unto his wife, and the two shall become one. Now, oneness doesn't mean sameness. We've talked about that before. You can be individually different, not be the same, but still have oneness. But the key is shall become. Shall become implies that there's a process to becoming one. That even though when you give your vows in the sight of God, in the spiritual sense, there's a oneness. In the natural world, there's a oneness process that has to take place where you have to shed some things from your past and form an identity with intentionality that allows you to really operate in your power. There's a phenomenal quote that I came across, and it says this: two perfect partners are rarely joining as one, but two imperfect partners can get pretty far in life if they nurture the sense of us with a future. So we're not today who we're going to be in the future. We're planting seeds today to get us to the reality that we want. I love the quote that the secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine. So what are we as a couple doing on a daily basis to ensure that there is a future that we can fall in love with and embrace and put efforts towards accomplishing in our life?
Yeah, I think it's really just making the decision to rewire. So, there could be some of y'all out there that are listening to this and saying, yeah, we do not operate as one. It's been frustrating me for years. I don't know what to do because I want to operate as one, but he does not, right? And so that becomes the struggle, right? If one person is an open book, but the other one is secretive and quiet and doesn't want to open up, that's something to really consider working on. Not always is it something sinister either. This has a lot to do with our personality styles and also how we're raised. I've talked about this before. I was definitely raised as a closed person. I don't need to tell everybody all my business and what's going on. Why? Because we had a lot of stuff to hide when we were kids and when we were coming up. We were broke, we were struggling, we were homeless, we were going through all this stuff. And so we kept all that stuff to ourselves, right? And so some of this is learned behavior that needs to be unlearned, right? You need to actually acquire new skills so that you can develop and become the person that you want to be. And so if that's you, reach out, because this is some of the work that we do. We help couples not only to recover from infidelity, but really to have your own personal and individual growth and development. That's how you grow. That's how you become a stronger couple together.
Absolutely. And that speaks to the fact that every single month we have something called the Last Chance Weekend. The Last Chance Weekend are for couples who are in crisis. The next one coming up is actually January 10th through the 12th.
Mark your calendar.
It is not too late. You can get there. And a lot of people, Danielle, come in a sense of separateness. And to your point, they compartmentalize, they live separate lives, they have secrets, they operate in stealth, they're very clandestine in their approach. And interestingly enough, we've had so many couples who said, man, I've learned more about my spouse in these last 3 days than I've learned in the last 10 years because we don't talk.
That is so true. That is so true. It may seem foreign to you if you are a communicative couple that there are many couples that literally they do not talk. I mean, yeah, you have the cliche conversations. How you doing? How was your day? What's for dinner? How the kids? What are the bills? That's not talking. That's not communicating. No. That's just being functional because you live together and things got to get done.
Exactly.
But many couples do not communicate. They do not operate on an intimate level. They don't know how they feel about things. They don't know that there are secrets that are being kept. They don't understand why they do the things that they do. And so you come to the Last Chance Weekend and it is like blowing your mind to hear your spouse actually communicate. You find some couples are real quiet. It's not because they're mad. It's because they're listening.
Exactly.
And they've never heard their spouse communicate like that before. So don't mark your calendars.
Mark your calendar. And so if you find yourself to be in a struggle, if you would say that you and your spouse have a power struggle, come to the Last Chance Weekend and learn how to become a power couple. Listen, you're watching the Couples Academy show. We're talking about building your couple's identity. We're going to go to a quick break and be right back to talk about some of these power couples who have found their sense of oneness or we-ness in their relationship. Stay right there.
Welcome back, everybody. You are watching the Couples Academy show, and we are talking about how to build your couple identity. So we're loving this topic. Hassani and I are big on oneness. We talk about this a lot. Also, I talk about it in my book, Let's Agree to Agree, The Power of Oneness. You can always go to couplesacademy.com to get these, .org to get these books. Or if you're on Instagram, you can always just drop in the chat, agree, and you'll get a free chapter. Hassani, let's talk about these couples that are out here crushing it because they discovered the power of oneness will take them 1,000 miles further than having this individual identity.
Crushing it is an understatement because these jokers are killing it. There's a particular couple, Danielle, that, we're familiar with. I've been following them for quite some time, and I'm just blown away. I'm blown away.
Is it us?
I mean, when we look in the mirror, I do see us, and we're on our mission. But there's this other couple that really, matter of fact, let's just go to the image because many of you are familiar with them. This is Alex and Layla Harmozy. Now, if you're not familiar with them, they are a power entrepreneurial couple. They are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They are in their late 30s. Okay, they haven't even hit 40, and they started when they were much younger. Maybe they just hit 40, maybe, but they have a company called acquisition.com, and what they do is they acquire businesses, they leverage them, they scale them, and they coach other people how to do it. And what's interesting about when they first met, because I've followed their story, yes, there was an attraction, but that wasn't the draw for either one of them. They were more attracted to the giftedness and skills that they had in each other and thought that coming together in marriage would be, guess what, a great merger. They said, why don't we merge our skill sets? I have a vision of what I want to do. How about we come together and fall in love in the process? And so they kind of did things, they kind of did things, backwards to the American traditional model. If you think about other countries where they have arranged marriages, right, where parents are kind of looking at, okay, well, would these two be a good fit together? And they'll fall in love over time. They took that approach, and they not only are they crushing it in the business world, they're crushing it in the boardroom, in the bedroom, and they just are a happy, in love couple, and they're sharing their story, they're sharing their skill sets with so many other people. Now, what's interesting is he is phenomenal when it comes to sales and marketing. She is phenomenal when it comes to organization. She's the COO and trains other people how to be a COO of the company. He trains them on marketing, sales, and everything else. So once again, two individual brilliant skill sets brought together, and there's been a multiplication, an amplification of power.
I did not know that about their story. I follow her, and I just get all of her amazing tips. And one thing that I really love about her is just her realness and her authenticity in her teaching. She shows up authentically her, and like with nothing to prove, because what is there to prove when you're like doing it, crushing it, and living this big and doing it like that, and sharing all your gifts with the world. I just love how they show up, and the fact that they're a couple. I've never heard of somebody saying, let's merge our skills as an acquisition. That is the most interesting arranged marriage I've ever heard. It's usually you're arranging marriages to bring family finances together, but they brought their talents and skills together. And so that's what we talk about a lot when we say that, oneness is not the same as sameness. You don't have to be the same. As a matter of fact, your sameness would actually make one of you obsolete. You don't want to be the same. You want to bring your skills. Your sameness would make one of you obsolete. So you don't want to be the same. There are some giftings and talents in you. There is a vision and a purpose and a plan for you. God had already knew it from the very beginning. As a matter of fact, before you came through your mother's womb, God had a conversation with you and told you what your assignment was going to be. Now you're here trying to figure that out with your spouse. So there are giftings that you need to develop and bring into your partnership, not keep them off to yourself in your own silo, contributing to the world and you're all on your own, or to your friends, and your poor spouse is not benefiting from those gifts and that power. That's the point of becoming one. So I love that about their story.
Danielle, going back to what you just said, sameness. You're not designed to be the same. And I think a lot of couples feel trapped in their relationship because they have a spouse who's trying to make them just like them. You need to think like me. You need to react like me. You need to get angry the way I get angry. You need to have a calm temper the way you need to be me. And unfortunately, no matter how hard you try, both of you are going to be frustrated because it is impossible. And when you recognize the uniqueness and the brilliance that your spouse brings to the table, it only adds to the collective whole of the group. And you just said it. We give our brilliance away. We give it away to the world. We give it away to corporations. We give it away to our clients, but we give our spouses none of it.
It's interesting because it's what creates that competitive energy inside the house, because you're living in your own silos, right? And you're creating your own wins. But there's a resentment that's growing under your roof because those wins should be collective wins, not individual wins. So here you are going off to work and everybody is praising you and accolading you and this and that and the third, and none of that is getting poured back at home. So this is what we talk about, this competitive nature that we have. We should be bringing everything to the table. If you're winning at work and it's benefiting the house, if it's benefiting the kingdom that we're building, the legacy that we're focused on, then everybody's winning. But if your winnings are off in a silo somewhere, nobody knows about the splendor and the gold and all that you got going on, there's going to be a tremendous amount of resentment.
You know, Danielle, when a couple is not connected, competition can become inevitable, because I'm looking at what you're doing with your job and your elevation and your promotions and all your stuff, and I'm over here salty because I'm not benefiting. You're not bringing that back to the collective whole, and maybe I'm not doing as well as you're doing. So now I feel like I gotta compete.
Oh,
right?
Man, that part.
So when I look at you, I'm looking through a lens of inadequacy. I'm reminded of what I failed to do or what I haven't done or what season I'm in, and I'm on my struggle. And because we're not one, then there's a problem, right? There's an envy and a jealousy in the marriage. But when you are aligned, when there's this sense of weenness, this sense of us with a future, when you win, I win. We just had a good friend do something for us that provided an opportunity that you're going to take advantage of. And I'm excited for you as if it's me, because when you win, we win, because we are we. It's a sense of we. There is no me now that we're married, without we. And so I'm so excited for your elevation, because your elevation and your expansion will contribute to the collective whole of our marriage.
Absolutely.
Let's go to the next one. This is another powerful couple in the realm of business, but powerful nonetheless. Grant and Elena Cardone. Now, he is known as a billionaire, and he's made his billions. 10X, that's right. He's made his billions in a number of different ways. He's had businesses, he's been in sales, but real estate has been his claim to fame as well. But his wife is equally as powerful. She wrote a phenomenal book, and she talked about being the queen of the empire and what level of support that she provided him that other people may not have been able to see, because he has been on the front, he's been in the camera, but she was the strength and the power behind the camera that nobody knew about. But if it wasn't for them, they wouldn't be who they are today. In fact, I love how Grant tells the story. He says he was cool being a millionaire. He was cool with that, being a multi-millionaire. But his wife was just like, no, there's more in you. And it was her vision and her inspiration that caused him to step up to become the best versions of themselves. So they both equally have contributed to this amazing empire that they've built. And now their names are spread all over the world because of their unison.
I love that story. I love them. She was a suitable helper. Okay, let me just say that right out there. She was suitable because she was able to speak life into Grant Cardone when he was getting complacent. Because sometimes when you reach certain levels of success, you're like, listen, I mean, ain't too many of my family members around here. I think I'm good. I think I made it. When there are so many more levels to go, and she was able to inspire that into him by playing her role, whatever it was, and how she was supporting him in the background. But what I love most about that story is that even though you saw Grant and you heard Grant, and she was back there doing her thing. Her gifting still made room for her. Have you seen what she's doing lately? Have you seen how she's filling the room with other entrepreneurial women who want to step out, who are also wives, who want to step out and make impact in the world? She has done that. She has stood behind the man, the multi-billion-dollar man.
Well, he's a billionaire now.
Okay,
yeah.
billion-dollar man. And she has helped leverage him to get him to that place, and now she's teaching other women how to do the same. That's a power couple.
Powerful. So they're brilliant and they're powerful individually on their own, but what they do when they come together, I'm telling you, it's amazing. Which takes us to the third couple. You know, there's power in three. Let's just go to it. Barack and Michelle Obama. Power couple. Now, regardless of your political views, that's not what this is about. I don't know. You know what? The only other couple that I can think of in the presidency that was known for their couplehood, their weeness, if you will, would be Ronald Reagan and his wife Nancy Reagan.
Yeah.
Like, they were that couple, right? They did things as a collective one. And in recent history, it's been Barack and Michelle Obama. Now, we already know that they are individually brilliant on their own. You know, as articulate and well-versed and sophisticated and brilliant as Barack is, many have made the argument that Michelle is even more so. Like, her ability to just speak and influence and empower and just, galvanize. Both of them have their own unique individual brilliance that, when brought together, has allowed him to have 2 terms in office and are making an impact around the world. And now they're in all other types of businesses and productions and film because they're phenomenal.
Yes.
I think there was a love. I think their love story really impacted the nation and the world and has helped many couples find their spark again.
So I want you all to ask yourself a really powerful question, and it's, how do you identify in your marriage? Is there a spirit of oneness, cohesiveness? Is there togetherness? Or is it a divided, divisive, disconnected identity? You need to figure that out for you so that you can begin to take the steps to work on fixing that and or improving that. Because even if you are working with oneness and you are doing that, there's still other levels you can go to, right? There's always more that you can accomplish together. But if you are on 2 different stratospheres, there is zero oneness, that is something that you want to begin to work on. Reach out to us. We love to work with couples. We work with couple entrepreneurs as well as people who are going through infidelity crisis, all of it. So please, do not let 2025 be the year that you stay stuck in habits that you know are not serving you. Reach out and get the support that you need.
Listen, guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, wait till tomorrow. We're going to continue in this conversation on understanding your identity as a couple and what that means and how to begin to create something that is lasting, long, and sustainable. Listen, guys, we love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. See you on tomorrow.